Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to look into VPC peering in AWS. So first, let us understand what is VPC peering and later on we'll go to the demonstration. Alright, so first before getting started, so actually if you see my screen here, so this is the architecture that represents VPC peering. So if you see here, we have VPC A and VPC B. Okay, and inside VPC we have subnets, and inside subnet we have an EC2 instance. Okay, here also we have a subnet and we also have an EC2 instance. So if you want to peer these two connection, peering means making friends or making them talk to each other, right? So if you want to do that, that particular process is called as VPC peering connection. Okay, so that terminology is called as VPC peering connection. So before understanding VPC peering connection, let us understand what is VPC and what is subnet. All those things we'll understand. So a caution here, if you already know what are these things, just fast forward this. I don't want you to waste time here. So if you know this concept, please head over to the demonstration. Okay, if you do not know what are these things, just concentrate here. Okay, so what is VPC? So the simple definition, my own definition of what is VPC is, let's say AWS has got huge network, right? So in that huge network, if you take a small piece of AWS network and call it as your own network, and if you take control of the IP address ranges, routing patterns, and all the security related to that, then we call that as VPC, virtual private cloud. But if AWS has their own definition, so this is the definition: Amazon VPC lets you provision a logically isolated section of the Amazon AWS or AWS cloud where you can launch AWS resources in a virtual network that you define. So I feel that is a pretty a complex definition, at least for me. I don't know about you, so I have made it a little bit understandable so that everyone can understand. So this is the definition of VPC. Let's go and see what are subnets then. So subnets, it's nothing but a logical partition of the network into smaller IP range. So if you have so many IP addresses, so you will not utilize them completely. So if you want to utilize them completely, so for example, for production you want to segregate some network IP ranges, for dev you allocate some IP ranges, and for QA you segregate some IP address. So those things we call it as subnet, and the process of doing or process of creating subnets are called as subnetting. Okay, so I'm not going into in detail about these things because these are networking related, but just an heads up here. All right, so what is CIDR range then? So CIDR, CIDR means classless interdomain network, or sorry, classless interdomain routing. Okay, so this is one of the method for allocating IP addresses for IP routing. Okay, so that is called as CIDR range. Now what is IPv4 and IPv6 addresses? So all the things that we create, I mean EC2 instances, will have their IP addresses, right? So it can be public or it can be private. So if you see the IP addresses in this format, right? So that is IPv4, and if you see IPv6, so this is the format of IPv6. Most of the organization are shifting towards usage of IPv6, so you might have to work on IPv6 also. So in IPv4 we have private and public IP addresses, but in IPv6 all the addresses are public, so you can make a note of it. Okay, so this is what we call as subnet, CIDR, and IPv4 and v6. Okay, so now let us go to the actual agenda. What is VPC peering? So AWS has its own definition, and again in my own words, if you want to say what is VPC peering, so let's say you have created VPCs already. So you have one VPC and the other one VPC. Okay, so let's say you have two VPCs with different side range. So if you want to enable the communication between one or more multiple VPCs, for example, so that process is called as VPC peering. AWS definition goes like this: a VPC peering connection is a networking connection between two VPCs that enables you to route traffic between them using private IPv4 addresses or IPv6 addresses. Okay, instances in either VPC can communicate with each other as if they are within the same network. Okay, so that is AWS definition. I think that AWS definition makes more sense, but if you do not understand what is the definition, watch out for my definition. Okay, so three important things to note here. Through VPC peering, traffic stays within AWS network. It will not leave to the internet. It will always stay within AWS network. That is the first point. Second thing, you need to make sure that the two VPCs that you are having should not overlap with the CIDR. So you know already what is CIDR. So the range, the IP range, those should not overlap. If they are overlapping, you will not be able to, peer the connection. If they are overlapping, assume, so if you're already friend, how do you make someone again friend, right? So you're already friends, you both are friends, you're fine. So someone coming and telling that, hey, become friends with him, that is certainly not a good thing to say, right? So that is the meaning here. It should not overlap. Okay, either they should not be friends before, and you can try and make friends, but if they're already friends, you cannot do it, right? So that is the non-overlapping CIDRs. So VPC peering is not transitive. That means, for just to give an example, let's say you have person A. Okay, so this is person A. Let me write in person A. You have person B and you have person C. Okay, so let's say you're peering A and B. Let's say these two are friends. Okay, peering means friends, assume like that, and B and C is also friends. Okay, so this doesn't mean that A and C are friends, right? So they might not be interested in becoming friends. That doesn't mean that A and C are friends, right? So that is the meaning of transitive. So if A and B are friends, B and C are friends, that doesn't mean that A and C are friends. So if you want A and C to be friends, you need to explicitly connect them or tell them that you become friends, and then you will be able to connect them. Okay, so this is called as transitive VPC pairing, which is not allowed. Okay, so there is another turnaround for this. There is another solution for this, which we will be talking in further sessions. Okay, so this is about VPC peering. Now, enough of talking about this VPC pairing. So let's go head over to AWS console and start building this one. Okay, see you in the AWS console. All right, to get started with the demonstration, what I've done is I've already created the resources that are needed for this demonstration. That is 2 VPCs, 2 subnets, and 2 EC2 instances in those 2 VPCs that we have created. Okay, so I have used CloudFormation template to create these resources. So I have also made it available for your usage. So this is the CloudFormation template that I'm using. Basically, if you see here, this is creating VPC A, and this also creates VPC B along with subnet A, subnet B, separate security groups for A and B, and also some instance profiles and EC2 instances are also getting created. So it is just a simple CloudFormation template that we have. So you can run this. You can create this stack by using CloudFormation. If you do not know how to create a stack and all, so don't worry, there are lessons available online, so you can go over it and create it. You just have to copy paste this YAML file and you will be able to create the resources using CloudFormation template. Basically, it is an IAC, that is infrastructure as a code. Okay, so by using that I have created my resource. If you see here, I created VPC Peering demo. That is a stack name that I gave. So if you see here, it created two VPCs, VPC A and VPC B, and it also created two subnet. One is subnet A and subnet B. So this is also created, and it was also created two security groups. Okay, so and also if you see here in the security groups, we have two of them. So if I just expand this one, if you see here, VPC Peering demo VPC A and VPC Peering demo VPC B security group. Okay, so it is created two security group also, and also it has created two EC2 instances with the name EC2 VPC A and EC2 VPC B. Okay, so if you want to verify, so I'll just select EC2 VPC A. If you just go to networking, if you see, it is in VPC A. Okay, so now let me check the other one. Now if you go to networking, it is in VPC B. Okay, so these two instances are in separate VPCs. Okay, so let's try and connect to this one of the EC2 instance. Okay, so I'll just go with the session manager. So if you are using my CloudFormation template, it will you need to attach one role for session manager. As our EC2 instance doesn't have public IP address, you need to attach this particular role. So if you do not attach this role, basically it allows session manager. So if you do not allow session manager, if you do not attach the role, your EC2 instance will not be able to connect it. You cannot connect to that EC2 instance. Okay, so if you want to try this out, always use the template that I've created, or if you know how to create a instance profile and create a policy or a role for EC2 instance, you can do that as also. Okay, now I'll use session manager and click on connect. So basically it will connect to the EC2 instance. Okay, so let me go back to my EC2 console again. So right now I'm logging into EC2A, but let me grab the private IP of EC2B. So this is the private IP. So let me copy that. So let me go over here, session manager. Okay, let me try pinging the other one. So it is all small, PING. Okay, and give this IP address. If I hit enter, if you see, it is trying to ping, but it is not getting the response back. So it is holding there, right? So again, if you have doubt, like if we are VPCs, or so if you remember, we made it very clear that VPC CIDR should not overlap. If you see, the CIDR of this is 16 and this is 17, so it should not overlap. You need to keep that in mind. Okay, so now if you see, this is not able to ping. Okay, so the reason is we have not peered the connection yet, right? So to do that, go back to your VPC console, come all the way down. You have something called as peering connections. Just search for peering connections. Here it is. Okay, click on that. Now if you see, we do not have any peering connections created. Okay, so let's create a peering connection. I'll just say VPC A, VPC B. Okay, so that means VPC A and VPC B. Select the local VPC to peer with. So what is the VPC that you are trying to peer? Okay, so I'll select VPC A. Okay, so if you want to just verify what is the CIDR, so this is the CIDR. Okay, so the other VPC which you are trying to peer, is it in the same account or another account? So if it is in another account, you need to select this one and you need to provide another account's details. But if you are, as this demonstration only goes with my account, I'll select my account, and whether the VPC that you have created, it is in the same region or another region. So in my case, it is in the same region. So I'll select this region, and the region is US East 1. So I'm right now in US East 1. Okay, so I'll select that one, and you need to select the acceptor VPC. That means the one that you are trying to connect to, right? So this is the VPC B. Select VPC B, and this is the CIDR. If you just want to verify, this is 10.16.0.0, this is 10.17.0.0. okay, and this is the name that we are giving, and just click on create peering connection. Okay, so now if you see the peering connection, we have created it, but if you see, it is saying pending acceptance. So after creating, you will have to accept it. You will have to accept the request saying that I am okay to connect it. So if your VPC is in another account, you need to log into another account and go to that particular VPC which you are trying to connect or peer with and accept it. As this is in my same account and same region, I'll click on actions here. Okay, so here if you see, you have option to accept the request or reject the request. So I'll go ahead and accept the request. Okay, so if you see, the requester VPC is VPC A and the acceptor is VPC B. Okay, so make sure everything is correct, and requester CIDR is also mentioned here. Click on accept request. Now if you see, the status changed to active. Okay, so let me go back and check in my EC2 if they are able to ping it. So if you see, the data or the response is still not available for EC2A. That is the reason is because of the security concerns. So if you remember, we talked about security groups and network security groups or network ACLs, right? So network ACLs are not restricting anything basically, but I always suspect that if you are not getting response, it is due to security groups itself. So network security, NACLs or network ACLs are not so, they will not restrict you anything in your account. The one that restricts is, firstly, go and check your security groups. Okay, so later on you can check your networks ACLs. Okay, first let me go to security groups. Okay, first let me go to my instance and see what is the security group. Okay, I'll just only check the running instances. Okay, so this is my running instance. I'll select EC2A, select security, and if you see, this is the security group attached. Okay, if you just want to see what is the security groups, you see here we are allowing TCP, port 22 is open, port 22 from IPv6 and both IPv4 is open, so we are able to connect, and outbound it is allowing everything. So you need not change anything in security group A because the security group is stateful. It can understand, right? It can understand the connection. So you need not change anything in the security group of A. But if you want to check, you need to check the security group of EC2B, right? So here basically ping will use ICMP protocol. ICMP is a protocol that is used for pinging. So here if you see in VPCB or EC2 VPCB, this EC2 instance doesn't have anything with the source or source using ICMP protocol, right? So to do that, so let us edit this security group and add ICMP protocol to that in the inbound rules, because we are trying to ping from A to B, right? So that is not reaching B, but from A it is reaching, but at the B it is not getting the response, right? So to do that, we need to allow in the inbound rules. So let me edit inbound rules. Okay, click on add rule. So in custom here, you need to allow all ICMP IPv4. Okay, so here what you can do is, as this VPCs, both the VPCs and the security groups are in the same region and the same account, what you can do is you can reference the security group. Referencing means, let's say our EC2 instance A is using some security group and EC2 instance B is using some security group. What you can do is you can reference A in EC2 instance B's security group only when they are in same region. Okay, so now let me go back here and just paste the security group of the second one. Okay, or the EC2 instance A. So if you see, this is the EC2 instance A's security group. Okay, so I'm allowing ICMP for the EC2 instances that are having this security group. Basically, I only have one EC2 instance with this security group. So I am allowing all the EC2 instances to talk with this particular ICMP protocol. Okay, now let me hit on save changes. If you see, you're still not getting any response from the EC2 instance B. The reason is because of the route tables. We have not added routes inside the VPCs, right? So let us go back to our route tables and add it. Okay, so let me go to VPC console, and here if you see, we'll have something called as route tables. So select route tables here. Okay, so check the route tables here. What is VPC A? We have this route table, and VPC B, we have this route table. Okay, so let me select VPC A. You need to make these changes in both of the route tables. Okay, so let me come here, click on routes. If you see, we only have this one. Okay, so this is basically VPC A's destination itself, or the VPC A's CIDR itself, but we need to add destination of our EC2 instance or the VPC B also. So to do that, click on edit routes, click on add route. So you just need to type in 10.17.0.0.16. so this is the one. So if you remember, this is the CIDR that I'm using. Okay, so here you need to select peering connection, and we have the peering connection here. Okay, so this is the peering connection. Select that one and click on save changes. Okay, so if you do not make these changes, it will not work. As you saw there, it is not working, right? So that is the reason why you need to add this in the route table. So let us go back to route tables again. You need to make the same changes in the route table B also. So let me select VPC B. Okay, select route tables, routes, sorry. Here you need to add the VPC A's CIDR. Okay, so what is that? 10.16.0.0/16, right? So you need to add that one. Here also you need to select peering connection, and this is the peering connection that we have. Click on save changes. Okay, so after saving these changes, as soon as you make that change, you will get the response back from the EC2 instance B. Okay, if you see here, before it was stuck here, it was not getting any response from EC2A or EC2B. Right now we are getting the response from the other EC2 instance. So observe this carefully. You are having the TTL here, and you are having the time also here. The time is very little in milliseconds. You are getting 0.6 milliseconds, which is very little, and you can bear that, right? So this traffic is not going over the internet. It is routing within the AWS network itself. So the time taken is very less. Okay, so this is how you can peer the connection in AWS. Okay, so that's it for today's video. I hope you liked it. So if you're liking the content that I'm creating, please consider subscribing and share it among your friends. Until then, bye.